Ma'am, stop recording. Step back now. I just want my daughter. Where is she? Marcus, please. She resisted. Airline security had to intervene. Dallas, Fort Worth Airport. The glass walls trembled with the roar of a landing jet, but everything else seemed frozen. Travelers stood still, phones half-raised, eyes wide. A slender 17-year-old girl, Alana Brooks, lay face down on the polished floor, palms pressed behind her back by two uniformed airline police officers. Her cheek rested against the tile. Her voice, small and steady, tried not to crack. I just asked to keep my backpack. That's all, sir. It has my medication. The officer above her didn't respond. His knee hovered inches from her shoulder, not pinning, but close, too close. His radio crackled softly against the wide-open hush. Her mother, Evelyn Brooks, arrived in a rush of airport-filtered air, tote bag sliding from her arm, coat half-buttoned. She was in her late 40s, composed but shaking at the edges, the way a person shakes when fear must not be allowed to win. Evelyn took one step toward her daughter before a third officer lifted a hand, blocking her path. Ma'am, stop. You can observe from there. I am her mother. Alana needs her inhaler. A pause. No one answered. Nearby, a departure board flickered, Gate D21, final call. And for a breathless second, the only sound was a rolling suitcase that wouldn't stop spinning in circles where someone had dropped it. Travelers whispered. A baby cried somewhere behind the security ropes. But everything focused inward, tightening around the mother, the daughter, the badge-heavy uniforms. Alana's breath came shallow. Evelyn's voice lowered to steel. You will release her. The officers exchanged glances, first confusion, then a growing caution they couldn't yet name. Evelyn unzipped her coat with deliberate calm, hands sliding inside. The gesture was slow enough to read as peaceful, but full of quiet authority, like someone opening a door they own the key to. I'm not here to argue. I am here to get my child. The officer stiffened, expecting anger. Instead, Evelyn pulled out a leather wallet, simple brown, edges worn, hinge crisp. She held it low, not flaunting, not trembling. The gold flashed once beneath the terminal lights. A federal credential. Not loud, not dramatic, just real. For the first time since the chaos started, the lead officer took a step back. His face drained. His voice thinned. Ma'am, we didn't know. Evelyn's eyes never left them. You didn't ask. The room held its breath. Enjoying this? Tap subscribe for tomorrow's story. 7 hours earlier, the airport was only a picture on a brochure. Alana Brooks sat at the small kitchen table in their Dallas townhouse, a half-finished bowl of oatmeal beside a stack of college mailers. A soft morning light slid through the blinds, striping the envelopes with bars of white. Mom, look, she said, tapping one with a blue crest. This one has a pre-law summer program. They even mentioned civil rights modules. Evelyn, already in her travel blazer, poured coffee into a stainless mug. Her hair was pulled back neatly, her movements measured. She glanced over, eyes softening. You like that one? She asked. I like what it stands for, Alana answered. People listening. Rules that protect everyone, not just some people. Evelyn gave a small, knowing smile. That is a good thing to like. On the counter, Alana's backpack sat open. An inhaler peeked out of an inside pocket, along with a book about constitutional law and a worn spiral notebook. She zipped the bag, then unzipped it again, checking the front pouch where she kept her medication. Double-checking, Evelyn asked. You always say, measure twice, move once, Alana replied. Evelyn laughed, a low sound that filled the quiet kitchen. I say that about wood and paperwork, she said. But yes, your inhaler stays with you. Never in checked baggage. Never out of your sight. Alana nodded. She had grown up with this careful rhythm. She remembered childhood nights of tight breathing, the soft wheeze, the rush to the doctor. It had been years since a serious episode, but the memory never left. Her mother's rule had become her own, medication within reach. Voice steady, information ready. On the small hall table by the door, there was a key bowl and a single leather wallet, darker than the wood beneath it. The edge of a seal barely showed when the flap shifted. Alana looked at it, then at her mother. Do you have to take that? She asked quietly. I always take it, Evelyn said. But I do not always show it. Alana considered this. It makes people behave differently, she said, when they realize who you are. It makes them remember the rules they should follow anyway, Evelyn replied. They locked up the house and wheeled one shared suitcase down the small walkway. The morning air was cool, the sky a pale blue smear over the roofs. In the car, the radio murmured news they barely listened to. Alana spent the drive reading the pre-law brochure, lips moving silently over phrases like equal protection, oversight, and public trust. What made you choose this field, Mom? She asked at a red light. Evelyn's hand stayed steady on the wheel. I saw things that needed eyes on them, she said. So I chose to be those eyes. Do you ever get tired? Alana asked. Every day, Evelyn said. Do I stop? Not yet. Alana smiled at that. She leaned her head back, imagining herself a few years older, walking across some campus lawn, a stack of law books in her arms. By the time they reached Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, the terminal was waking up fully. Rolling suitcases whispered over concrete. The sliding doors sighed open with a rush of conditioned air. Inside, Alana felt the familiar mix of excitement and nerves. This trip was her birthday gift and her early introduction, a 3-day youth leadership conference in Washington, D.C. panels, workshops, mock hearings. For a girl who collected court case summaries the way others collected music, it was a dream. Stay close, Evelyn said as they joined the check-in line. We will get your boarding pass, then I will see you through security. They moved forward slowly. A family joked behind them. A man argued softly into his phone ahead. The airport announcements floated overhead, calm and distant. When it was their turn, Alana stepped up, handed over her ID, and accepted the boarding pass with both hands, as if it were something more than paper. First solo flight, Evelyn said quietly. You ready? I am, Alana replied. I know the rules. She tapped her backpack strap lightly. Inhaler with me. Documents ready. Speak clearly. Stay respectful. Evelyn nodded with approval. She brushed a crumb from Alana's sleeve, a small maternal act that lingered a beat longer than usual. Good, she said. Just remember, if anything feels wrong, you do not shrink. You ask questions. Questions are the beginning of accountability. They walked together toward the security checkpoint, the crowd growing thicker, the lines snaking back on themselves. Uniforms came into view, belts heavy with radios and ID cards. Alana adjusted her backpack on her shoulder, unaware that within the next hour her questions and her mother's quiet authority would collide with a part of the system that had forgotten its own rules. The transportation security line wound like a slow river. Stop, shuffle, wait, stop, shuffle, wait. Overhead lights cast everything in a soft, sterile glow. Alana watched shoes come off, laptops slide into bins, belts unthreaded and coiled like small snakes. She held her backpack straps tight, thumb brushing the front pocket where her inhaler rested. Evelyn checked her watch. You have time, she said, but stay alert. Listen for instructions. Alana nodded, repeating procedures in her head. Liquids separate. Laptop out. ID ready. She could have done it blindfolded. When they reached the rope divider, a uniformed agent waved Alana forward. Traveling alone, he asked. Yes, sir. Any medical items? My inhaler. In my backpack. He gave a curt nod, barely looking up. Evelyn stepped aside, as parents must. She would stay on the public side of the checkpoint while Alana crossed into the secure gates. But even separated by a retractable belt, she stayed close enough to watch every step. Alana placed her backpack on the conveyor. Shoes next. Jacket. She inhaled slowly, watching it disappear into the dark mouth of the scanner. She felt a tiny tug in her chest, not pain, just awareness. When she walked through the detector, it beeped. Not loud, not frantic. Just a sharp, unexpected chirp. Step back, please, an officer said. Arms up. Alana obeyed, palms open. The handheld scanner passed over her sleeves, her pockets, her waistband. Green light. No tone. Nothing unusual. You're clear, he said. Relief warmed her spine. She reached for her backpack, except it didn't come out. 3 TSA personnel huddled around the monitor. One pointed to the screen. Another adjusted the controls. The machine hummed longer than usual. Evelyn watched from a few feet away, lips pressed thin. When the backpack emerged, a young agent lifted it, turning it in his hands. This needs secondary inspection, he said. Is something wrong? Alana asked. No, he replied, though his voice suggested uncertainty. Just random screening. He led her to a side table. Evelyn followed parallel along the barrier, close enough to hear but not intervene. The agent unzipped the main compartment. Out came the book. The spiral notebook. A small pack of tissues. Everything placed neatly on the steel table. He unzipped the front pouch and paused. The inhaler rolled forward. He held it up between two fingers. You didn't declare this, he said. I did, Alana replied gently. At the podium. I said I have an inhaler. The agent glanced at a colleague, unsure. Evelyn raised her chin slightly, a silent message across the divide. Stay calm, speak clearly. Alana tried again. I need it with me. It's for asthma. The second agent folded his arms. You can put it in your check bag. I don't have a check bag, Alana said. And my mother always. Her voice faltered only once. My mother says medication stays with me. The agents exchanged looks. One shrugged. That's policy for some items, not all, he said. We'll need to tag it and place it with gate-checked items. Alana blinked. That means I won't have it. Only during boarding. But boarding is when I might need it. The air gets dry, and he cut her off, tone clipped. We're following procedure. Evelyn stepped closer to the belt line. Excuse me, she said, voice controlled. My daughter must carry her inhaler. That is standard medical allowance. The agents continued speaking to one another, as if she hadn't spoken at all. Alana looked at her mother, then at the officers, a small tremor under her ribs, not fear, but disbelief. She tried once more. Please, I cannot board without it. The table fell silent. Decision hung, uncertain. Then an airline police officer stepped forward. Ma'am, he said to Alana, voice firm, you're holding up the line. Let us handle your belongings. His hand rested near the inhaler. Her fingers hovered just above it. Neither moved. A tension like static filled the air. She reached an inch closer. He blocked her. And everything that would follow, the shouting, the crowd, the moment her mother's badge would turn the room on its axis, was already waiting in the space between those two hands. The officer's palm hovered over the inhaler, as though it were contraband rather than life support. Behind Alana, passengers shifted in line, rolling eyes, checking watches. The airport soundtrack, rolling wheels, distant intercoms, continued as if nothing were happening, but inside Alana's chest, the rhythm changed. She swallowed. Sir, she said carefully, I need that. I can show you my prescription. The officer exhaled through his nose, impatient. You're not listening. This will be returned when you board. Please step aside. He guided her with two fingers on her elbow, not forceful, but dismissive, a gesture that suggested she was a problem to move, not a person to hear. Evelyn watched, spine straight, arms at her sides. She was a mother first, but she was something else too, something the officers had not yet recognized. On the far side of the barrier, she spoke again, slightly louder. Officer, I need clarification. My daughter is permitted to carry a rescue inhaler on her person. This is standard medical accommodation. The officer didn't look at her. Ma'am, stay behind the line. They led Alana toward the secondary screening area. A few passengers watched with quiet discomfort. No one stepped forward. No one asked questions. Not yet. Alana moved as instructed, eyes wide, breath shallow but steady. She reminded herself, stay calm, speak clearly, like Mom always said. Her throat felt tight. Not asthma, pressure. At the small table, another uniformed officer approached. Older, broader stance, badge clipped square to his chest. Name, he requested. Alana Brooks. Age, 17. He paused at that. Not enough to change his decision, but enough to register she was young. He set the inhaler aside, just out of reach. Alana watched it like a pulse. The officer asked routine questions about luggage, travel purpose, duration of stay. She answered each with clarity. Yes, sir, no, sir, leadership conference, 3 days. She hoped respect would soften him. Instead, he scribbled notes without looking up. Evelyn's hand pressed lightly to her collarbone. She was not allowed through security. She could only witness. But witnessing had power if one knew how to use it. A woman in line, mid-50s, silver hair, floral travel bag, leaned toward Evelyn. "Is she all right?" she whispered. "She will be," Evelyn replied. Her tone held no doubt. The woman nodded, as if gathering quiet courage from her certainty. Back inside secondary screening, the lead officer reached for Alana's backpack. "We'll take custody of this medication until boarding." Alana's breath hitched. "No," she said. Not defiant, simply true. "I cannot be separated from it." The officer's jaw tightened. "Miss, if you do not comply." Before he finished, a cough fluttered in Alana's throat. Not staged. Real. A dry catch of air. Her chest tightened the way it sometimes did in cold weather or heavy stress. The officer stepped back, startled. "You all right?" someone muttered behind him. Alana nodded, though her lungs disagreed. "I just need my inhaler." "Please." It sat inches away. Blue plastic. White label. Her lifeline. She reached for it. The nearest officer blocked her hand. "Quick. Firm. Do not touch property during screening," he ordered. Evelyn's voice cut across the space, low, controlled, but sharpened by maternal alarm. Let her breathe. It was not a shout, not a plea, a directive. For a moment, everyone froze. Even the conveyor belt seemed to hum quieter, as if sound itself leaned closer. The supervisor arrived, radio still hissing, drawn either by protocol or the density of silence. "What's happening here?" he asked. The officers began to answer at once. Medical item, noncompliance, procedural hold. Conflicting words. No clarity. Alana coughed again, softer but urgent. Evelyn's eyes narrowed, not in anger, but calculation. She stepped closer to the barrier rope. She did not raise her voice. She did not flash her badge. Not yet. Instead, she recited policy. Medical inhalers are permitted in carry-on screening without removal from the passenger. Under ADA, reasonable accommodations for rescue medication must not impede access in transit. Her tone was precise. Memorized. True. The supervisor blinked, taken off guard. The younger officer shifted uneasily. The inhaler glinted under fluorescent light. A crowd was forming. 3 phones now recording. Tension building like thunder before a break. Something in the air was about to give, and it would change everything. The supervisor's posture stiffened, but he did not yield. Authority rarely steps back first. "Ma'am," he said to Evelyn across the rope, "policies vary. We're responsible for safety. Interference from the public side isn't permitted." Evelyn kept her gaze level. "I am her parent. I am alerting you to a medical risk. If she experiences bronchospasm, seconds matter." Her voice carried, not loud, but far-reaching. People leaned in. One traveler lowered his headphones. Another stopped mid-text. The silver-haired woman from earlier took out her own phone, filming quietly. Inside the screening zone, Alana stood straighter. Fear gave way to something warmer, resolve, sparked by her mother's certainty. She repeated the words Evelyn taught her like a lifeline. Ask questions. State facts. Stay human. She looked at the supervisor. "Sir, may I please hold my inhaler during screening?" The supervisor opened his mouth, but before he could respond, an airline police officer stepped up behind him. Taller. Bulkier. Uniform darker than TSA blue. He assessed the scene in one sweep. "Why is she separated from medication?" he asked. The younger officer from earlier answered quickly. "She resisted instructions." Evelyn's jaw tightened. She asked a question, she corrected. The officer turned toward Alana. "Is that right? You were asked to surrender medication, and you hesitated." Alana hesitated again, not out of confusion, but caution. She chose her words carefully. "I hesitated because I was afraid to be without it." The officer studied her, eyes following the tremble in her fingertips, the slight movement of her ribs. Then his gaze shifted to Evelyn. "You related. I am her mother. Any credentials relevant to this conversation?" Evelyn didn't move. Not an inch. She didn't reach for her coat where the wallet rested. "Not yet. Not required," she answered. Public policy alone should suffice. The officer held her eyes for one long second. Then he made a choice. He reached for the inhaler. Not to return it, to confiscate it. He placed it inside a clear plastic bin and slid it toward the conveyor track, out of her reach, out of her sightline. Alana gasped, a small sound, but final. That was her line, her breath, her security. Evelyn inhaled once deeply. Control, thin but unbroken. The silver-haired woman filming whispered, "This is wrong." Another traveler, a businessman with a briefcase, murmured, "She's a kid. Give her the inhaler." But the officer only raised his voice. "Miss Brooks, step away from the table. Boarding gate will release the item." Alana shook her head. "No, I don't feel well." A slight wheeze ghosted at the edge of the sentence. Not dangerous yet, but real. That did it. Fear shifted into protective instinct. The nearest officer reached for her arm to steady or restrain. The move was ambiguous, dangerous in its misunderstanding. Evelyn's feet moved before thought. She closed the distance to the rope, hands gripping it. Her voice was no longer quiet but cutting, clear as glass. "Return her medication now." The taller officer turned stern. "Ma'am, step back." He gestured sharply, and in the confusion, two airport police officers stepped between them. Communication broke. Authority hardened. A hand reached for Alana's shoulder. The shove wasn't violent, but firm enough to send her backward. Her breath caught. Her balance wavered. A frightened sound escaped her, a child sound despite her age, and she stumbled against the metal table. Someone in the crowd gasped. A phone tilted for a better angle. In the moment that followed, everything snapped into motion. The officers moved to contain. Alana's knees bent. Hands pushed. Voices tangled. Daughter went down. A mother crossed a line inside herself she had never crossed before. And the badge she hadn't shown yet? It was about to become the hinge on which the entire room would turn. Alana hit the tiled floor with a dull, echoing thud. Not hard, not brutal, but wrong. Her palms slapped against the cold surface, breath shallow, knees stinging. She was not resisting. She was grounding herself, trying to keep air moving through tightening lungs. But to the officers trained to see noncompliance, the sight of a girl rising from the floor looked like defiance. Two of them moved fast. One grasped her wrist. Another pressed a hand between her shoulder blades. The crowd inhaled as one, held the breath like glass. "Stay down," the nearest officer barked. "I'm trying to breathe," Alana whispered. Evelyn was already moving. Her coat flared behind her as she crossed under the rope with a steady, unstoppable stride. Someone reached to stop her, too slow. She reached her daughter's side, dropped to one knee, and placed a gentle hand on her back. "Alana, look at me," she said softly. Slow breath. In through your nose. A pair of hands reached for Evelyn's arm. She did not flinch. She reached into her coat, pulled the leather wallet free, and held it up, not high, but with quiet finality. The badge caught the fluorescent light like a blade of sun. Federal Investigator, Civil Rights Division. The nearest officer froze mid-movement. The supervisor's face drained of color. Radios crackled, idle voices falling abruptly silent. Someone in the crowd whispered, "She's federal." Another voice, "Oh my God." The moment hung suspended, every thread of tension visible. Evelyn's voice was a controlled instrument. Low, even, unmistakable. "You will remove your hands from my daughter." Now, no threat, no volume, just authority. The officers stepped back, all at once. The taller one, the one who'd moved the inhaler, spoke first. His voice was smaller now, stripped of certainty. We didn't know." Evelyn met his gaze, unblinking. "You didn't ask. You acted." She lifted the badge fractionally, not to boast, but to document clarity. "I am here off duty. I am here as a mother. But my role does not disappear when I watch an unlawful denial of medical access to a minor." Alana pushed herself upright, propped on shaking hands. The officer who held her wrist released it as if it burned him. She reached for the inhaler on instinct, but it wasn't there. It sat in the bin, untouched, distant. Evelyn extended a hand, not trembling, not rushed. "Retrieve her inhaler immediately." The supervisor snapped into action, voice suddenly crisp. "Return it. Now." The younger officer hurried to the bin, lifted the inhaler with both hands. The as though it were suddenly sacred. He placed it in Evelyn's palm. She didn't keep it. She opened Alana's fingers gently, placed it there herself. Use it, sweetheart. Alana took 2 measured puffs. The wheeze eased. Her shoulders lowered. Color returned to her cheeks like sunrise after fog. The silver-haired woman filming lowered her phone, relief softening her features. A ripple moved through the bystanders. Whispered apologies from strangers who hadn't spoken earlier, guilty glances from those who had watched without stepping in. But this moment was not finished. The hierarchy had shifted, yet consequences had not arrived. The officer who blocked her inhaler cleared his throat. For the record, he began, voice cautious. We were acting under. Evelyn cut him off with a single raised hand. Under assumption. Under authority without listening. Under procedures you misapplied. She stood slowly, helping Alana to her feet. The badge glinted once more. A second appearance, deliberate, unforgettable. This incident is not over, she said. You will document it properly. Statements, names, footage retention. Her tone did not threaten. It reminded. A federal note does not vanish. The officers looked at one another, realizing what it meant, that this would leave a trail. That oversight was coming. That accountability had stepped into Terminal D wearing a mother's face. And this was only the beginning of the reversal. The air around the screening zone shifted, warmer, unsettled, heavy with the realization that power was no longer one-sided. Officers who moments ago moved with certainty now shifted like men standing on cracking ice. Evelyn kept her badge visible only long enough to anchor truth. Then she lowered her arm, tucking the wallet back inside her coat. Authority, she knew, was strongest when applied sparingly. Supervisory reporting station, she said calmly. We will move there. My daughter will walk with her medication. The senior officer hesitated, torn between procedures he understood and consequences he had not foreseen. We can escort you, he offered. You will, Evelyn replied. And you will document that she was denied medical access for 9 minutes. It was not accusation. It was record-keeping. He nodded stiffly. Alana stood beside her mother, legs still unsteady but breath smooth now. She clutched the inhaler, not as proof of vulnerability, but survival. Travelers parted silently as they walked through the terminal. No dramatic escort, no handcuffs, no raised voices, just quiet deference replacing earlier command. The silver-haired woman who'd filmed stepped forward. Wait, ma'am. Evelyn turned. I recorded everything, the woman said. If you ever need it. I saw what happened. Her voice trembled, regret that she hadn't intervened sooner. Evelyn received her with a soft nod. Thank you. Sometimes witnessing is the first step to courage, a subtle shift. The woman exhaled like she'd been given permission to forgive herself. They continued toward the reporting office. Glass walls, frosted door, low hum of fluorescent lights. A uniformed administrator waited inside, posture braced, expression wary. Evelyn remained gentle, precise. I would like to file an incident report, she said. We will need internal footage preserved under standard evidence retention. The administrator blinked, surprised not by her request, but by the calm with which she made it. Most people who reached this room shouted. Evelyn simply documented. Cleanly, professionally. Alana took a seat beside her, inhaler in hand. She watched her mother speak with quiet awe. This was not anger. This was discipline forged through experience and patience. This was strength that didn't need volume. As Evelyn recited the sequence of events, times, language, actions, her voice held no spite, only truth. And truth, when delivered without hostility, was harder to dismiss. Halfway through the report, a knock sounded at the open door. The tall officer from screening entered. He was no longer rigid. Something in his shoulders had lowered. He cleared his throat once. I need to say something, he said. Evelyn paused. Alana looked up. The officer swallowed. I was wrong. I treated you like a problem instead of a person. I didn't listen when you explained your medical need. He shifted awkwardly. And I didn't think to ask who your mother was before acting. That should not matter. I see that now. He exhaled, slow, regret heavy in the sound. I'm sorry, Miss Brooks. To both of you, no excuses, no bargaining, just admission. The administrator recorded the apology. Procedures would follow: review, training, policy reinforcement. But in that room, something more human occurred: recognition. Accountability as a beginning, not an end. Evelyn met the officer's gaze. "Thank you for your honesty," she said. And then, unexpectedly, she offered something else. "If you're willing, I would like you included in the follow-up meeting." Hearing firsthand why this matters could help prevent another child from being separated from essential medication, the officer nodded slowly. "I'd like that," he said. "I want to get this right next time." A fragile bridge formed where conflict had been. Not triumph, not defeat, change. Alana reached for her mother's hand, fingers threading through years of lessons she finally understood. Speaking up, she realized, wasn't always about winning. Sometimes it was about opening a door that had been stuck too long. And yet, outside this room, the story was spreading. 3 videos already circulating among passengers. A quiet ripple turning into a wave. The twist was not just the badge. It was what Evelyn chose to do with it. News does not always explode. It sometimes spreads like light through blinds, thin at first, then unmistakable. By the time Evelyn and Alana completed the incident report, the airport atmosphere had shifted. Word drifted from gate to gate, parents whispering, staff speaking quietly with supervisors, security officers standing straighter as if reminded of something long forgotten. Outside the glass office, a cluster of passengers waited, not confrontational, but present. Witnesses to what nearly escalated. Travelers who had felt the sting of silence before, now seeing someone push back with calm precision. A young airport supervisor, early 30s with tired eyes, stepped inside. "Mrs. Brooks." "Miss Brooks." His voice wavered with sincerity more than fear. "Internal Affairs has requested copies of all statements. We're initiating a policy review regarding medical items at checkpoint." Evelyn nodded. "That is the correct step," she said. "Training must include medical sensitivity, especially for minors traveling alone." He hesitated. We'd also like your guidance. If you're willing." Not a demand. A request. Evelyn looked at Alana. Her daughter's breathing had steadied. Color warmed her face again. She held the inhaler loosely now, like something earned. "I am willing," Evelyn answered. "But so is my daughter." Alana blinked. "Me?" "Yes," Evelyn said gently. "Because this happened to you. And your voice matters." Alana's heart beat once strong. She sat up straighter. "I can share what it felt like," she said. "Why it's scary to have someone take something you need to breathe." The supervisor listened, posture open. "That would help more than you know." When they exited the office, the silver-haired woman approached again, not to film, but to speak. "I used to work in a school," she said softly. "I've seen students punished when they only needed understanding. I should have stepped in sooner." Evelyn placed a hand on her forearm. "You stepped in when you could. You recorded truth." The woman exhaled, eased. A businessman, the one who muttered earlier, added, "Most people don't know the rules." "You reminded them clearly." Maybe clearer than they wanted. Evelyn nodded once. It's easier to follow policy when someone knows it by heart. The airport announcement chimed overhead, soft and ordinary. "Flight 218 to Washington, D.C. now boarding." Alana froze. Her trip, the real reason they were here, still waited. Evelyn turned to her daughter. "You can still go. You have your inhaler. And you have your voice." Alana looked toward the gate, then back at her mother. "Will you be okay here?" Evelyn's eyes warmed. "I will attend to the report. You will attend to your future." A trembling decision settled into certainty. Alana hugged her mother, quick, strong, grounding. Then she adjusted her backpack, inhaler secure in the side pocket. Her first step toward the gate felt like stepping into adulthood, measured, intentional. The tall officer, the one who had apologized, approached quietly. He cleared his throat. "If you'd like, Miss Brooks, I can walk you to the boarding area." Not as an escort, just as someone who wants to do better. Alana weighed him with thoughtful maturity beyond her age. "Yes," she said. "Thank you. I'd appreciate safety, not supervision." He nodded, humbled, changed. They walked toward Gate D21 together. Travelers watched not a detained girl, but a respected one. A teenager who stood up. A mother who knew the law and stayed calm under pressure. A turning of tides in a place where authority often goes unquestioned. As Alana scanned her boarding pass, she looked back once. Evelyn stood by the reporting office, shoulders square, proud but still. The badge glinted faintly beneath her coat, third and final appearance, like a signature written not to boast, but to seal. The officer beside Alana spoke quietly. "You taught me something today." Alana inhaled, clean, clear, unafraid. "I learned too," she replied. "Power matters. But so does empathy." Behind them, conversations continued. Policy would be reviewed. Officers would train differently. Travelers would speak next time. Fallout had begun, not in fire but reform. The jet bridge smelled faintly of metal and recirculated air. To many, it was ordinary. To Alana, it was a threshold, one she approached with cautious triumph, inhaler secure, breath steady. The officer kept pace beside her, hands folded respectfully behind his back. He did not speak unless invited. That mattered. At the aircraft door, he paused. "You'll be all right from here," he said, voice low. "I'll be attending that follow-up training. I want to be part of fixing this." Alana nodded, appreciating not just the words but the effort behind them. Change rarely arrived all at once. It came in increments, in individuals deciding to do better. "Thank you for walking with me," she said. "You didn't have to." "I did," he replied simply. "Because earlier I didn't." Their exchange required no forgiveness, no dramatic gesture. It was a clean moment between two people who saw one another clearly now. He stepped back. Alana stepped forward. Inside the plane, she found her seat by the window. Sunlit clouds drifted across the runway outside, soft and indifferent to human conflict. She buckled her seatbelt, fingers shaking, not from fear, but from release. The tension that had gripped her all morning dissolved into something tender and new. A flight attendant, mid-40s with kind eyes, noticed her inhaler and leaned down. "If you need anything," she murmured, "press the call button. We flight crew know the rules. Medication stays with you." Alana smiled, relief warm and full. "Thank you," she whispered. As passengers settled, she powered on her phone. A text came through instantly. "Mom, proud of you. Speak with your whole voice today." Another message followed seconds later. "Mom, you breathed through it." A tear escaped before she could contain it, not sadness, but gratitude so large it needed space. She wiped it quickly, unable to stop smiling. The pilot announced takeoff. Engines rumbled. Wheels lifted from concrete, and the world dropped away beneath her. Clouds parted like pages. Alana rested her palm over the inhaler, not clutching it this time, but holding it gently. Symbol, safeguard, lesson. Below her, in the terminal, Evelyn remained behind to finalize documentation. She sat across from the administrator, composed as ever. "You understand," she said evenly. "This report isn't about punishment. It's about prevention." The administrator nodded. "I do. We failed your daughter today, but we're going to learn from it." Evelyn watched the screen where internal footage replayed moment by moment. Officers tense, the girl on the floor, a mother stepping in with calm authority. She didn't watch for anger. She watched for improvement. "When you write the training module," she added, "include her voice. Let them hear how it felt, not just what was done." He scribbled notes quickly. "That's exactly what we need." When the report concluded, Evelyn stepped outside into the main concourse. The terminal felt different now. Lighter, quieter, like tension had finally exhaled. A child laughed near a vending machine. Someone strummed soft guitar near the waiting area. None of them knew what happened that morning, yet somehow the air held the imprint of change. Evelyn found a seat by the window where planes faded into the distance. She watched one lift skyward, Flight 218, her daughter inside. Her hand rested lightly over her coat, where the badge lay still and unshone now. She had used it when necessary, not as power, but as protection. A deep breath in, a long exhale out. Dignity restored, voice honored, policy set to improve. And somewhere above the clouds, a girl with a future ahead. 3 months later, Washington, D.C. Spring sunlight spilled through tall windows inside a modest federal conference room. Not grand, not imposing, simply functional, the kind of place where decisions outlast photographs. A fresh binder sat open at the center of a long table. Revised TSA medical accommodation policy. Youth and essential medication procedure. A quiet victory, inked into process. Evelyn Brooks sat at one side of the table, posture calm, reading the printed pages line by line. Each paragraph reflected the day at Dallas-Fort Worth, not in drama, but in clarity, child access. Medical priority. Officer discretion with documented rationale. Mandatory training on respectful communication. She traced one sentence with her fingertip, lips softening into the smallest smile. On the opposite side, Alana adjusted the microphone, heart steady but voice bright with focus. She was here as a youth speaker, invited to present lived experience, not as a cautionary tale, but as a catalyst for reform. The same inhaler rested beside her binder. Not fragile anymore. A symbol of assurance. When her turn came to speak, she rose. I was 17, she began. And I didn't need special treatment. I needed fair treatment. I needed someone to see me as a traveler, a student, a person. Not a problem. A silent room. A listening room. I wasn't harmed physically. I was dismissed, she continued. That moment changed my understanding of authority. It also changed how I see my own voice. I learned something my mother already knew. Dignity deserves space. Evelyn watched her daughter stand strong where policy and story met. She felt pride deepen, not loud but rooted. When the committee applauded, it wasn't polite formality. It was acknowledgement, gratitude, respect earned through courage and clarity. Afterward, Alana and Evelyn walked together beneath cherry trees outside the building, blossoms drifting like pale confetti along the sidewalk. Not dramatic, just peaceful. You spoke well, Evelyn said, hands tucked gently behind her back. I learned from the best, Alana replied. Evelyn chuckled softly. No, you learned to breathe. They sat on a bench beneath soft pink blooms. Traffic hummed distant. City air tasted clean after morning rain. I'm thinking about studying policy, Alana said. Maybe civil rights law. Maybe something that helps when people forget to listen. Evelyn considered her daughter, older now in ways unseen. You would make a fine advocate. Alana turned to her mother. Do you think one moment can change a system? Evelyn's gaze settled on the inhaler, quiet beside them. One moment, she said, can remind a system to remember its humanity. A gust of wind lifted a few petals. One landed on the inhaler's casing. Alana brushed it away gently, not out of fragility but care, a tender gesture formed from months of reflection. Tomorrow she would return home. Next month she would apply for law programs. Next year she might walk halls where national policy began. But today, she sat beside the woman who had taught her the power of breath, truth, and composure. The badge stayed hidden inside Evelyn's coat, silent, not needed now. Mother and daughter sat beneath the fluttering blossoms, two voices intertwined by what they endured and what they changed. No headlines, no spectacle, just quiet progress written into the future. Andy, thanks for watching.